Hello! So, this week I'm going to talk about nostalgia memories for video game music and stuff. Because two reasons I want to do this video. One, my last video from last week was about, retro gaming music, countdown video, um, you know, video game music. And the other reason was because I think it was about a month ago, maybe? Well, maybe less. I forget. But Nintendo Switch Online, they updated, added some more games to their retro console streaming service thing. And one of the Super Nintendo the games they added is a fighting game called um, Doomsday Warrior, which is amazing. I'm kidding, it sucks. It's not the worst game I've ever played, but it's up there. My brother actually had it when we were kids. I mean, one of the things about the game, it has some of the music is good, but not great. And a few of the characters are kind of cool. Like there's a dragon guy, some protoplasm woman, and a guy who looks like he's from the Mad Max movies. But yeah, little teensy, weensy, redeeming qualities, but not a whole lot. The game is terrible. I can't really describe it. You have to play it for yourself. It's one of those kind of games. But anyway, I was kind of playing it on there just for shits and giggles, and it I was looking at I went into the menu and I was like, oh yeah, you can listen to the music and the sound effects from the game. That was something something that was pretty common with the 16-bit era, and and then it was like I was like, it made me start thinking like, wow, my brother and I used to do some pretty cool and funny things with music from games back then. Yeah, this might make a pretty neat idea for a video. So probably the most common thing that well what I mean by this, I feel like this isn't exactly uncommon. I'm sure a number of you watching this probably used to do it as well. We used to take a tape recorder and then a blank cassette tape and record the music from the games. Whether you could listen to it from in the menu, or if it was a game that you had to pause it to listen to, or just kind of sit them in one spot or something. I mean, this was very, a lot of times with games we rented, like Mega Man X, Batman Returns. It was this wrestling game. I think it was Raw, maybe. It had Bam Bam Bigelow, 1-2-3 Kid, who would later become Xbox. Shawn Michaels. I think Doink was in there. What was it? And then there was this. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but there was this Double Dragon fighting game. Because I can't remember if it had a special name or if it was just called Double Dragon 4 or something like that. But yeah, it was a pretty neat game. Some good music too. But yeah, like I said, we'd use the music from these that we recorded for we'd listen to them before we went to bed, because I don't think we had a TV in our room till the mid '90s or something. Or we'd use them for background, just for background ambience when we were drawing or something, things like that. But moving on to the next thing. Actually relates to Street Combat. Was my brother, our stepfather, had an old video camera, it was the kind that you could literally put a blank VHS tape into to record on, and this thing was massive. It was probably about the size of this, but twice as wide. Twice as wide as this thing. Yeah, that thing was massive. And anyway, I actually have a point with that thing I'll get to later on. But we would use it for mainly my brother, who's Aaron, who's 6 years older than me. He would have been in junior high at the time. I would have been in elementary school. Well, he was probably middle school, junior high, or something. But anyway, we would use this for various things. And one of the things was that Aaron, our cousin Bobby, and I, we took a bunch of little boxes to use as a platform, and then we took a bunch of stuffed animals, not these ones because Pokemon didn't exist yet, but I had, between specifically my sister and I, we had a ton of stuffed animals. I think my brother might have had a couple too, but me and my sister especially had a ton of them. And so we would because I said, Aaron had Doomsday Warrior back then. He would, let's say, one of them would operate the game, the others would operate the stuffed animals. So let's say Bobby would have the two stuffed animals on the platforms, or platform, whatever, boxes, and then Aaron would like use the menu from Doomsday Warrior, and they would basically like what the hell was I gonna say? Because you would use them, you have the music playing, and then you just use the sound effects from the game. It's all like things like that, and then just Bobby would have them like fighting each other, so it looked like it was the sound effects, and then after they were and then when he was done, he'd go like, because you know how in like fighting games, especially like the older ones, how when your opponent was KO'd, they'd like fly back in slow motion. And I remember there was a stuff. It was like I don't know. It was either my sister's or our sister, or it was like just a family one. That what it was it was almost like a clown Humpty Dumpty type of thing, and it had like this pointed like clown party hat type of thing. So one of the sound effects from Doomsday Warrior sounded kind of like a drill, so we'd like turn him around so it looked like his hat was a drill. Yeah, that was actually kind of fun doing that, even though it's funny. It just shows that, like, actually a lot of this stuff just shows, like, wow, we really had imaginations back then. But the next thing, which actually somewhat stuffed animal related, not really a stuffed animal, it's more like a doll, but you remember My Buddy dolls? I actually had one of them. I think it was my stepfather's mother. I think she got it for me for Christmas one year in the early 90s, and I loved that thing. It really was my buddy. And then because Aaron and I had bunk beds, and it was a metal frame, and then I was on the top bunk, and Aaron, because Buddy was on the floor, and the doll, that is, Aaron threw him up on, and all of a sudden you heard like, dong! What the hell was that? It's because his Buddy's head hit the frame, and it popped off, because the head was the only part that was plastic, the rest was like, just like stuffing and stuff, and it wasn't really fastened well. It's hard to explain, but there was no way to fix it, really. So, I was disappointed, although I was laughing my ass off when his head popped off. I remember I held him up in the pieces, like, look what you did! But probably a month or so later, I think it was one of my mom's coworkers, saw a doll at a store, which was this, and she's like, oh my god, you should get that from Mac. So she did, and this was, I think it was like one of those things, like, those like dolls that it's something girl or something like that, and they have them like in like various different like cultures from around the world. So I'm drawing a blank on the name. I think that's what this is from, but I could be wrong. But yeah, this was something we used to use for various things. And one thing that is kind of the reason I bring this up, I think I just got one of his hairs in my mouth, was around this time was when Castlevania Symphony of the Night came out, which was one of Aaron's favorite games of all time. And it was like, there's a part in the game, I think it's like in the library, you can listen to the music from the game. And so Aaron would play the music, and then I would have, if it was a song I liked, or a tune, whatever, I would have Jarek or I think that was what I called it, was Jarek. Like, from Mortal Kombat 4, I'd have him start like dancing around or something if it was a song I didn't like. I'd start like beating him up, and then we switched roles, and I would play the music, and Aaron would like make him dance. Which was funny with this was Aaron loved like pretty much all the music in the game except for one that I think he wasn't too crazy about. I forget what that one was, but so then the last thing was that I've talked about these guys in various videos. Z-Bots. These little, like 2-inch robot figures that I've talked about in a lot of my videos. And pretty much every video I bring them up, I talk about how, like, they... it's my favorite toy line next to Ninja Turtles growing up. And of course, we'd mix up... Like, my brother and I, we had a ton of Z-Bots. We had, like, other minifigures as well, like Battle Beasts. It was, Snailians... like, just like minifigures that came with like action figures. Like, there's Major Mucus from Earthworm Jim. Can't think he came with Sidecrow, and there was like McDonald's toys. Just anything that was like miniature, we used to mix them all up and have battles and stuff. But anyway, the reason I bring this up is because basically we made our own little like beat 'em up type of thing. Like we used the music from Turtles in Time, and then we'd like play through all the different. We'd be like, okay, here's the because we used to use like our Z-Bots with like Fisher Price play sets. Like, here's one that I had. it's the same set, but it's not the exact same one I had as a kid. You know, it's like I rebought it basically. And part of the reason I do these is because I, you know, collecting these retro things. It's like it's a hobby, but it's also because I like share these things with my nephews. But yeah, I had this one. He had like a office building type of thing, so it was like we'd each pick like 3 Z boss. Then we'd have like a beat 'em up action. Like we'd go through the like we'd use the songs like whatchamacallit, like Alley Cat Blues and what the hell was the other one? Big Apple, 3 a.m. and you know, etc. And here comes the cat pushing the door open. But yeah, like we'd use the music, and then it's like, you know, we'd because I think I've mentioned this in videos before too. This was one of the Burger King Z-Bot toys that because we had a ton of these guys, we used them as foot soldiers. So then it's like we'd play through the level using like the Ninja Turtle music, like, you know, Alley Cat Blues or whatever, and then like we'd use the boss music to fight the boss. In fact, one of the things I remembered was this is how strong a memory I have. Like, you know, I would do like, you know, like, oh, one level is across here, then another one is like up here, or like the inner parts or whatever. And then I remember one of the things was like, you know how like some fight beat 'em ups would have like stronger enemies or sub bosses. So I was like, one thing I would do was like there was a sub boss. There was like 2 Z-bots right here. Then for the boss, the door opened up and this Knuckles McDonald's figure, Sonic the Hedgehog, came out to fight. But then what we would do is, I think like I did 3 levels with that one, and he did like 3 with his office building thing. Then we took like some vehicles from like G.I. Joe and stuff. We would do a driving level, and I think we used it was either the sewer surfing music or the music from the train level, you know, Bury My Shell at Wounded Knee. We'd use the music for like the driving level, and then basically we'd switch. So my brother would or Aaron would use the little city street thing that I have, and I'd use his office building. So it was kind of cool for, you know, me. It was like, oh, mine was like perfect for a beat 'em up because the last level was on the roof. Like this office building thing, it was 2 floors and then a roof. So yeah, yeah. That was fun. I miss doing that. But yeah, so those of you who are still here, thanks for listening to my nerdy memories, like talking about retro game music and stuff. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend.